Spite of this frigid winter night in the boisterous Atlantic, spite of my wet feet and wetter jacket, there was yet, it then seemed to me, many a pleasant haven in store, and meads and glades so eternally vernal, that the grass shot up by the spring, untrodden, unwilted, remains at midsummer. That is an extract from Herman Melville's Moby Dick, and it is the opener to our February newsletter. February already, I know. I send out these newsletters once a month on the 1st. It's pretty low risk, low commitment, so thank you for subscribing. We go over art, culture, history, poems, literature, all the fun things. So yeah, thank you. The painting this month is seasonal, and that is the York to London Royal Mail Coach, Caught in a Snowstorm, bit of a mouthful, by Henry Thomas Alkin, who was a 18th century English engraver, painter, etcher, illustrator. I think he was a second or third generation artist, made his living that way, tutored, wow, I can't pronounce that, tutored under his father, and published his work under a funny pen name, Ben Tallyho, and yeah, I think he did a lot of work for like sports illustrations, so like hunting and like steeplechase and whatever they did back in the 18th century, I don't know, I think he did quite a number of illustrations of mail coaches as well. This one I'm showing on screen being the best, but maybe he had some sort of weird fascination with mail coaches, I don't know. So the poem this month is not seasonal, I apologize, but it is good. And that is William Butler Yeats's The Second Coming. Now, normally I read the poem out, but I think I will try to recite it because I have it memorized. So I'll close my eyes so you know that I'm not cheating and reading off my computer screen. But this is William Butler Yeats's The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold, and mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are the words out, when some vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape of lion body and head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it real shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle, and what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. Very apocalyptic, but very, striking. Not very many poems strike me when I first read them. The one that did this the most is one we already put in the newsletter, that being I Thank You, God, for Most This Amazing Day by E.E. Cummings. But this one also struck me when I first read it, so. Yes, quote of the month. So the quote of the month this month comes from Søren Kierkegaard, the famous Danish philosopher. I believe he was also 18th century, same as Alkin. Anyway, this is from his book Either Or. He says, "Of all ridiculous things in the world, what strikes me as the most ridiculous of all is being busy in the world, to be a man quick to his meals and quick to his work. So when, at the crucial moment, I see a fly settle on a businessman's nose, or he is bespattered by a carriage which passes him in the even greater haste, or the drawbridge is raised, or a tile falls from the roof and strikes him dead, I laugh from the bottom of my heart. And who could help laughing? For what do they achieve, these busy botchers? Are they not like the housewife who, in confusion at the fire in her house, saved the fire tongs? What else do they salvage from the great fire of life?" What are you salvaging from the great fire of life? The etymology of the month, comes from English. Big surprise. And it is nickname. Okay, so as far back as you go into human history, people give each other nicknames. That's just part of human nature. Some nicknames are convenient, right? If the guy's name is Edward, you call him Ed for short. That's a nickname. Sometimes they are for endearment, I suppose. Like if you call your spouse like Honey Buns or something, I don't know. Cupcake. I don't know what pet name you have for your significant other, but that would be like a endearing nickname. But you could also come up with like a demeaning nickname, like somebody who's fat, you call them skinny, right? That's kind of like a rude thing. Anyways, nicknames come in all shapes and sizes, and so for example, right? Caligula, the German, the Roman emperor. His real name was Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, which obviously he needs a nickname. That's way too many syllables. And then he was named Caligula, meaning little boots. I believe that's because when he was young, his father dressed him up in like this army general uniform, and he just looked very funny in these little boots. But maybe that's a fable. I don't know. Anyways, Old English, they would say a or an eke name. Eke name is a compound word, eke meaning additional, name meaning name, eke name or eke nama. And sometime in the 14th or 15th century, there occurred this linguistic phenomenon called rebracketing. And what that means is people would start to slur together an eke name, and the N migrated from an to eke name, creating a nickname. And so other examples of this are, you know that little amphibious creature with 4 legs and a tail that lives in like rivers and stuff? It used to be called an ute. And so you'd say an ute, but then it became a newt. Or in French, a little serviette was also called napron, a napron, or an apron. Wait. I guess that's not a serviette. What do you call it? Yeah, apron. Is there another word for that? I don't know. That thing you wear around your waist. Anyways. Next up we have fiction. Okay, I'm serializing a book. If you didn't know, this month was chapter 9. Caverns measureless to man. So a brief synopsis. Not of what's happened so far, but what happens in this chapter. We have Rory and Eric stuck in the jail in Nemeton, and we have Kian and Danny that break in and help them escape. So yeah, that's exciting. But did I ruin that? I don't know. Does anybody even read it? Who knows? Book recommendation of the month. So I think I've talked about this on the channel before. Every December I read a Dickens book, just as like a tradition. So I've read so far, 3 years ago I did Christmas Carol, or I guess 2 years ago, Christmas Carol. 1 year ago I did Great Expectations, and then this year I did Pickwick Papers. So obviously they're all written by Dickens, but they're all very different in their form, right? Christmas Carol is kind of like a moralizing novella. It's very short, it has a very clear message. Great Expectations is a bit longer, it's a full-size book, but it's like a regular novel, whereas Pickwick Papers is like 800 pages, my edition anyways, maybe somewhere longer, and it is really drawn out. Okay, so like the book I'm serializing, Dickens serialized a lot of his novels, and I don't think he knew where this one was going. Okay, it was his first book he wrote. It was his breakout success, the thing that kind of won him fame during his lifetime. So a really strong start, and it's just very rambling. It's like a sitcom that goes on for too many seasons, except for all the seasons are good. So yeah, don't let the 800 pages scare you. If you just read Great Expectations, you maybe think that Dickens's prose is like very bogged down, because in that book, a lot of the regional accents or spelling kind of bogs down the prose. But in Pickwick, it's not like that at all. It's like very easily readable, even to a modern audience. So yeah, and there's all sorts of strange and funny characters. You have Mr. Samuel Weller, which is Pickwick's manservant, who is very, very humorous. Yeah, and then just a bunch of other characters that you will never forget. So yeah, if you like some lighthearted humor, Pickwick Papers, highly recommend. Okay, music recommendation of the month. We have an old, I don't know what you'd call it. It's not a hymn. I'm having a brain fart. It's a composition they would sing in the 17th century in the Sistine Chapel. A chant. Now, a lot of people think that like old music is like bad. Okay, you're wrong, first of all. But just because it doesn't have like a 808s and like a trap beat doesn't mean you can't listen to it. And this song in particular, the one I'm talking about, is Miserere mei Deus, which means have mercy on me, O God. It's a setting of Psalm 51, is very good. And the story behind it is kind of legendary. So it goes like this. It was originally composed by this guy, Italian composer, what's his name? Gregorio Allegri. And it was a big secret how you actually play it, because there was only 4 copies of the score in existence. One owned by the Vatican, then like 3 other people, like a composer and 2 kings had copies. But those copies were very simplified copies. They weren't like the real version. The real version with all like the ornamentation was passed down orally. So it wasn't written down anywhere. So back then, they didn't have iPods or gramophones, so they couldn't listen to music whenever they wanted. You had to have something played to you live. So the only people that could like hear their favorite song are rich people that could like commission a musician. But even the rich people couldn't listen to this song whenever they wanted, because no one had a copy of it. So the only way you could hear it is if you went to the Vatican when the Pope allowed the song to be played, which is during Holy Week, during Easter, where the song would be played as kind of as a lament for Christ's death. And that's the only time you could hear this song. But then, in 1770, 14-year-old Mozart, Wolfgang Mozart, goes on a trip to Rome during Easter time and hears this song, and he goes back to the hotel or wherever they're staying, and he writes the whole thing down from memory. And I think the version that I linked in the newsletter is 6 minutes long. So I don't even know how he memorized that in one go the first time he heard it. But he got it all right. And then that version was like the first like illicit version that kind of revealed the secret. And then it was passed down, and he kind of blew it. But pretty interesting. And yeah, Mozart was a genius, obviously. Okay, the last section of the newsletter, I try to do like a writing tip or a creative tip. So in August, I guess that's a while ago now. How long ago was that? Like 5 months ago? We talked about the role of the artist. But we didn't talk about, I guess the role of the artist would be that they ought to remind their audience of eternal truths that the audience is likely to have forgotten. But I didn't discuss in that edition how that they should do this. So we have a little bit of wisdom from Flannery O'Connor, Picasso, and Emily Dickinson on how we should go about telling the truth as artists. And the answer is to not tell the truth directly, but in Dickinson's words, to tell it slant, to tell it in a roundabout way. So you might think that if humans are rational creatures, they'd be most convinced by something like an essay, right? Because an essay is kind of like a rational set of ideas that kind of follow up us. I keep using the word rational, a rational path, right? Or perhaps like a logical derivation, right? We can see the conditions, the implication, and then the conclusion of the argument, right? But in fact, most people aren't really that convinced by logical argumentation, right? They might even think that the argument is kind of ridiculous. So why is that? It's because humans are not like fleshy robots, right? We're not solely rational beings. Instead, we have biases, we have emotions, we have our unique personal histories that inform all of our beliefs and opinions about the world. So essays and logical derivations are not the most efficient way to convince people of things. Instead, actually, it's art. And so art is more useful because it can convey things that are not possible to be articulated, right? They are able to capture some aspect of the human experience that rational argumentation cannot. And art touches the soul in a different way. So we have some quotes here in support of this. Flannery O'Connor, she writes, "When you can assume that your audience holds the same beliefs you do, you can relax and use more normal means of talking to it. When you have to assume that it does not, then you have to make your vision apparent by shock. To the hard of hearing you shout, and for the almost blind you draw large and startling figures." Picasso says, "We all know that art is not truth. Art is a lie that makes us realize truth, at least the truth that is given us to understand. The artist must know the manner whereby to convince others of the truthfulness of his lies." And then Dickinson writes, "Tell all the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit lies. Too bright for our infirm delight, the truth's superb surprise, as lightning to the children eased, with explanation kind. The truth must dazzle gradually, or every man be blind." Yeah. So that's the newsletter. Please subscribe. I'll keep sending them out. I know some people read them because I can see on Substack all of the statistics of you guys opening them. So yeah, thank you for your support, and I'll see you in March.